The Ember Chronicles Part 9 of the Galactic War Saga. Legacy of the Riftborn. Chapter 1, Beyond the Veil. The Eclipsera slipped through the shimmering boundary of the rift, leaving known space behind. Outside the viewport, reality bent and twisted like a mirage, stars warping into impossible shapes and colors that defied reason. Every sensor hummed with static, struggling to make sense of the shifting energies that surrounded them. Captain Kael stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the swirling chaos beyond. This was no longer a war fought with lasers and ships. This was a journey into the unknown heart of the universe itself. Every instinct warned her that what lay ahead could unravel everything they thought they knew. Around her, the crew worked in tense silence, eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. The mission was clear: find the source of the rising power within the rift, and if possible, shut it down before it tore the galaxy apart. A sudden surge of light pulsed through the rift, and the Eclipsera shuddered. The ship's systems flickered, then stabilized. A voice echoed across the bridge, not through the comms, but inside their minds. "Welcome, travelers. You tread on ancient ground." Kael's heart raced. The rift was not just a tear in space. It was a gateway to something far older, far more dangerous, and it was awake. Chapter 2, Whispers in the Void. The Eclipsera drifted deeper into the rift's chaotic folds, where stars twisted into impossible shapes and shadows moved with a will of their own. The crew felt it too, a quiet hum beneath their skins, as if the very fabric of reality whispered secrets meant only for them. Captain Kael convened with her senior officers in the command room. The ship's sensors were overwhelmed, unable to distinguish solid matter from the rift's ever-shifting energies. Every attempt to scan the surrounding space revealed nothing but static and fleeting glimpses of ghostly shapes. Lieutenant Mira frowned over her console. "There's something else in the rift," she said, voice low. "Not Ascendants or Leviathans. Something older than any records we have." Before anyone could respond, the ship's lights flickered again. A low pulse radiated from the rift, and for a moment, every crew member felt a presence, watching, waiting. A distorted transmission broke through the static, a voice both ancient and familiar. It spoke in an unknown tongue, yet its meaning was clear. "Turn back, or be lost forever." Kael's jaw tightened. They had come too far to turn back now. The fate of the galaxy depended on unraveling the rift's mysteries and surviving whatever waited within its depths. Chapter 3, Into the Abyss. The Eclipsera sailed deeper into the rift's ever-shifting currents, each moment plunging the crew further from the familiar laws that governed their universe. Space warped and twisted around them like liquid glass, the stars refracting into fractals of color that shimmered and danced just beyond comprehension. Time itself felt fragmented, seconds stretching and collapsing as though the rift toyed with reality's fabric. Captain Kael stood at the front of the bridge, fingers gripping the polished railing as her eyes searched the swirling maelstrom beyond. Around her, the hum of the ship's systems was a fragile pulse against the growing silence that filled the void between moments. The crew moved like shadows, some steadied by discipline, others trembling beneath the weight of the unknown. Lieutenant Mira's fingers flew over the sensors, but even her most advanced instruments betrayed nothing but static and fleeting whispers of energy signatures that refused to resolve into anything tangible. Suddenly, the ship's entire frame vibrated, the vibrations deep and resonant, as if the rift itself exhaled a slow, mournful breath. The lights dimmed and flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch beyond their sources, pooling in corners and edges as if alive. A soft murmur arose in the bridge comms, not from the crew, but from somewhere deeper, a signal too faint to trace but unmistakably deliberate. Mira's eyes widened. "Captain, there's a pattern emerging in the background noise, repeating like a heartbeat." Kael, who had joined the Eclipsera to aid in this desperate mission, leaned forward. A signal? From what? Myra's fingers danced again, isolating the rhythm. It's old. Older than any communication protocol. It feels like a language, but not like any spoken tongue. More like a song. Calitha's gaze narrowed. A song from the rift. The feeling of being watched deepened, and the ship seemed to respond. A brilliant flare ignited ahead, vivid, almost alive. It grew rapidly into a massive structure emerging from the rift's swirling chaos. A vast citadel of crystalline spires and jagged arches, humming with energy that seemed to resonate with the very soul of the Eclipsera. Sensors screamed warnings of energy overloads as the ship's systems strained to adjust. The citadel pulsed, its surface shifting and shimmering as if alive, projecting faint holographic glyphs that twisted and morphed, arcane symbols of an ancient and forgotten civilization. Then, through the haze, a figure appeared, ethereal, almost translucent, standing tall atop the highest spire. Eyes burning with cosmic fire, the figure spoke. Not in words, but through a wave of emotion and thought that flooded the minds of every crew member. You tread on sacred ground. The gate will open, but only those worthy may pass. Will you stand against the darkness, or will you become its prey? The weight of the challenge settled heavy over the bridge. Captain Calith swallowed her fear, her voice steady. We stand. For the galaxy. For all who cannot fight. The citadel pulsed brighter, the rift roaring as if awakened from a deep slumber. The real test had begun, not just a battle of weapons, but a trial of wills, ancient and unyielding. Chapter 4. The Citadel's Embrace. The Eclipsera edged closer to the crystalline citadel, its towering spires twisting skyward like frozen lightning forged from starlight and shadow. The air inside the rift crackled with latent power, each pulse sending ripples through the ship's hull, as though the very fabric of existence resonated with the ancient structure's heartbeat. Captain Calith stood rigid on the bridge, every sense heightened, as the ship's sensors struggled to interpret the foreign energy signatures that cloaked the citadel. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. This was no ordinary fortress. It was a living testament to a civilization lost to time, imbued with technology and power that dwarfed even the greatest constructs of the Leviathans or the Ascendants. Lieutenant Myra's voice broke the tense silence. The Citadel is generating a localized distortion field. It's bending space-time around itself, creating a protective veil. Any attempt to scan deeper is disrupted. Commander Kaelin narrowed his eyes, his mind racing through the grim possibilities. If it's shielding something, or someone inside, we need to find a way through. The fate of the galaxy depends on what's within. Suddenly, the ship's hull thrummed with a low vibration, and the bridge was flooded with a soft golden light. The Citadel's glyphs shimmered, projecting streams of symbols that wrapped around the Eclipsera like glowing vines. Without warning, the ship's controls momentarily locked, and the crew was plunged into a cascade of visions. Memories not their own, flooding their minds in a torrent of images and emotions. They saw the rise and fall of civilizations, wars fought across stars long dead, and the binding of a cosmic force so ancient that it transcended time itself. Among the visions was a figure, cloaked in radiant light, wielding power that could reshape galaxies, the starborn ascendant known as Morith, cast down and sealed away, his return intertwined with the awakening gate. As the visions subsided, Calith steadied herself against the railing. This citadel is a prison, and a warning. Lieutenant Myra's fingers flew across the console. The distortion field just fluctuated. It's creating an opening. I think we have a window to pass through. Kaelin nodded sharply. Prepare a boarding team. This is where the real battle begins. Outside the viewport, the rift roared, its swirling energies converging on the Citadel's core. Time was running out. Chapter 5. Breach of the Citadel. The boarding party assembled swiftly, their faces steeled against the unknown. Clad in sleek armor that shimmered under the flickering lights of the Eclipsera, Captain Caliph led the charge alongside Commander Kaelin, Lieutenant Mira, and a handful of the ship's most elite soldiers. The airlock hissed open, releasing them into the swirling mists of the Citadel's outer chamber. The walls glistened with crystalline facets, pulsating softly with the same golden energy that had bathed the ship moments before. Every step echoed with a haunting resonance, as if the very structure was alive, watching, waiting. Lieutenant Myra's scanner beeped urgently. Energy readings are off the charts. This place is powered by something beyond our tech. Quantum fields woven with strands of something I can't identify. The team moved cautiously through the labyrinthine halls, ancient glyphs glowing faintly on the walls, depicting scenes of celestial battles, sacrifices, and the sealing of a great evil. Each symbol seemed to thrum with a latent force, filling the air with a palpable tension. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath their feet, and a low hum grew into a roar. The Citadel's core chamber was awakening. Ahead, a massive door carved from a single piece of obsidian and gold slowly slid open, revealing a chamber bathed in blinding light. Inside stood a figure, imposing and regal, yet shadowed by a veil of darkness. Morith, the lost Ascendant, risen from exile and more powerful than legend foretold. His eyes burned with a cold fire, and his voice echoed through the chamber, reverberating in the minds of the intruders. You dare breach my prison? The Starborn throne awaits its rightful heir. Join me, and together we will reshape the galaxy. Caliph tightened her grip on her weapon, her voice steady. The galaxy will never bow to tyranny. The chamber exploded in a tempest of light and shadow, and the battle for the fate of all worlds erupted within the ancient heart of the rift. Chapter 6: Shadows and Starfire. The air inside the Citadel's core chamber shimmered with raw, crackling energy, thick enough to taste. Every breath felt like inhaling the weight of centuries, dense with ancient power and unspeakable menace. The walls, alive with shifting runes of gold and obsidian, pulsed rhythmically, almost as if they were breathing in sync with the titanic figure before them. Morith stood at the center, a towering silhouette clad in armor forged from starlight and shadow, eyes blazing with cold fire. His voice rippled through the chamber, echoing in the minds of the boarding party like a dark symphony. You trespass on sacred ground. I am the true heir of the Starborn throne, and all who oppose me will be shattered like stardust. Caliph steadied herself against the surge of oppressive energy, feeling the tendrils of doubt and fear trying to coil within her. But beneath that, a fierce flame of defiance burned brighter than ever. With a swift motion, she drew her weapon, a sleek energy blade humming with violet light, and charged forward, the hum of its power singing in her ears. Around her, the soldiers unleashed their own weapons, streams of plasma and kinetic blasts arcing through the chamber, illuminating the darkness with bursts of starfire. Morith moved with terrifying grace, parrying the attacks with shimmering shields forged from dark energy. His counterstrikes were devastating, each blow sending shockwaves that rippled through the Citadel's crystalline walls, fracturing glass-like surfaces into cascades of glittering shards. Lieutenant Mira focused on the control panels lining the chamber's edge, fingers flying as she tried to decipher the alien mechanisms that sustained Mortha's power. Each glyph she touched flared violently, and the chamber trembled as if reacting to her intrusion. Captain, his strength is linked to the Citadel's core, Mira shouted over the cacophony. If we can disrupt the power flow, we might weaken him. Caliph nodded, weaving through the deadly ballet of energy and shadow. Her blade clashed against Mortha's dark shield, sparks raining down like meteor showers. With every strike, she sensed the weight of millennia pressing down, a force of nature made manifest in a single being. Suddenly, the floor beneath them cracked open, revealing a swirling vortex of pure cosmic energy. The rift's heart bled through the breach, a maelstrom of light and darkness pulling at their very souls. Morith's voice grew louder, filled with rage and desperation. "You cannot stop what is destined." But Calitha's answer was steel and fire. She leapt into the fray, driving her blade deep into the glowing core pulsing beneath the chamber. A brilliant explosion erupted, a shockwave that hurled everyone backward and shattered the oppressive silence. The citadel trembled violently, runes cracking and exploding into shards of light. Morith screamed, a sound that was part agony, part fury, as his connection to the core fractured. The boarding party scrambled to their feet amidst the chaos. The rift roared, and the future of the galaxy hung in the balance, poised between annihilation and salvation. Chapter 7: Fractured Realities. The explosion echoed through the citadel like the death knell of an ancient god. Light fractured into 1,000 shards, cascading down the crystalline walls and scattering like falling stars. The once immovable structure trembled violently, cracks spiderwebbing across floors and ceilings, as if the very foundation of the rift was breaking apart. Captain Kael struggled to her feet, muscles aching but resolve burning brighter than ever. Around her, the boarding party rallied, eyes wide with exhaustion and disbelief. Morith lay on the shattered floor, his armor cracked and flickering, but his eyes still glowed with that relentless fire, a spark that refused to be extinguished. Lieutenant Myra's fingers danced over her console, scanning the Citadel's systems. The core is destabilizing. If this keeps up, the rift could collapse, or worse, tear open wider than ever before. Commander Kalen's voice was grim. That could unleash forces beyond anything we've seen. We're standing on the edge of a cosmic abyss. Suddenly, a new energy pulse rippled through the chamber, faster and more chaotic than before. The rift responded like a living beast, folding space and time in on itself. The crew felt a strange dizziness, a pull at their very souls as the boundaries between reality and illusion blurred. Calitha's vision flickered, revealing fractured glimpses of other worlds, possible futures and dark histories intertwined. Faces she recognized, lost allies and forgotten enemies, danced in and out of focus. The rift was showing them its truth, a labyrinth of countless outcomes and destinies. Amidst the chaos, a voice rang clear in Calitha's mind, the same ethereal tone that had greeted them at the rift's edge. "You have shattered the prison, but not the prophecy. The gate will open, and with it, the choice of all life. Will you embrace the light, or succumb to the shadows?" The Citadel's collapse accelerated, and the Eclipsera's alarm screamed. Kael grabbed the calm all hands. "Prepare for immediate extraction. We're leaving the Citadel before it tears itself apart." As the crew raced to the extraction point, Kael cast one last glance at Morith's fading silhouette. The war was far from over. If anything, it had just begun. Outside, the rift storm churned violently, and the fate of the galaxy hung precariously on the edge of unraveling. Chapter 8: Secrets Beneath the Shattered Spires. The Eclipsera escaped the Citadel's collapsing core just as the ancient structure began to fracture and crumble like a dying star. The rift's turbulent energies roared outside the viewport, a cosmic storm that seemed eager to swallow all traces of the forsaken place. Yet, amid the chaos, the ship's sensors pulsed with one persistent anomaly, a hidden chamber deep beneath the Citadel's shattered spires. Captain Kael stood in the command center, eyes locked on the flickering holographic map. It showed a sealed vault, an area untouched by the destruction, protected by an enigmatic energy field that hummed faintly beneath layers of arcane technology. Lieutenant Myra's voice trembled with a mix of awe and fear. "The energy signature, it's like nothing we've seen. But it reminds me of the artifacts we uncovered back in the Ashen Expanse during the Leviathan conflict." Calitha's mind raced back to those desperate days chronicled in Book 1. When the crew first encountered relics of the Ascendants' lost empire, mysterious devices capable of bending reality itself, this vault might hold the key to the Ascendants' true purpose, a secret powerful enough to tip the scales of the war. Commander Kaelin's voice cut through the tension. If the Ascendants built this, it's not just a prison. It's a beacon, a warning, and maybe a weapon. The crew readied a small retrieval team, descending into the Citadel's bowels where shadows pooled like liquid night. The air was thick with charged particles, the very atmosphere vibrating with dormant power. Their footsteps echoed in vast halls carved from crystal and obsidian, corridors lined with glyphs that shimmered faintly under their lights. Echoes of a civilization whose knowledge had been buried by time and war. In the heart of the vault, they found it. A crystalline monolith, pulsating with a haunting blue light. Its surface shifted like liquid glass, inscribed with patterns that seemed to move and change as if alive. Mira reached out, fingertips trembling as they grazed the monolith. The air around it thrummed with energy, and suddenly visions flooded her mind. Memories of past battles, whispers of forgotten alliances, and a glimpse of a star system lost to the Leviathan War. Kael watched, realization dawning. This was more than technology. It was a repository of Ascendant history, a living archive holding the true story behind their rise, their fall, and their enduring shadow across the stars. As the monolith's light bathed the room, the Eclipsera shuddered. The rift outside pulsed violently, a reminder that time was running out. The secrets uncovered here could change everything if they survived to share them. Chapter 9. The Elder's Warning. The chamber pulsed softly with the monolith's eerie blue light, casting long, wavering shadows against the crystalline walls. Lieutenant Myra's hand trembled as she withdrew her fingers from the surface, her eyes glazed with the flood of images that still raced through her mind. Captain Kael stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the shimmering monolith. Suddenly, a ripple ran across its surface, and the shifting patterns coalesced into a glowing hologram, an ethereal figure rising like a ghost from the depths of time. The hologram was tall and regal, draped in flowing robes woven from strands of starlight and shadow. His face was ancient yet sharp, eyes burning with the wisdom and sorrow of countless millennia. This was an Ascendant elder, a keeper of forbidden knowledge, long thought lost to the galaxy. He spoke, his voice resonating deep within the minds of everyone present, bypassing the need for words. You who have awakened the memory of the Ascendants stand at a crossroads of fate. This archive holds the power of creation and destruction, the essence of a civilization that transcended mortality itself. The Elder's gaze swept the room, piercing and grave. The technology within can heal worlds or rend them asunder. It can bridge time and space, open gateways beyond imagination. But such power is a double-edged star. Wield it without wisdom, and you invite oblivion. Kael swallowed hard. What must we do? How can we protect this knowledge? The Elder's holographic form flickered, his expression heavy with burden. Guard it. Protect it from those who seek dominion through fear and chaos. For the lost Ascendant, Morith hungers for this power. Should he claim it, the galaxy will drown in darkness. The monolith's light pulsed in sync with the rift's turbulent heartbeat, a reminder of the fragile balance they now held. Lieutenant Mira exchanged a determined look with Kael. This isn't just a weapon or a tool. It's a legacy and a responsibility. The captain nodded, voice steady with resolve. Then we will carry that burden, for all who depend on us. Outside, the rift storm churned louder than ever. The war was far from over, and the true battle for the galaxy's future was just beginning. Chapter 10. The Flight of Shadows. The corridors of the Citadel trembled under the relentless assault of time unraveling and energy surging wildly. Every step the boarding party took toward the extraction point felt like running against the collapse of a dying universe. Crystal shards tinkled and shattered beneath their boots, and the air was thick with charged particles that made the hairs on their arms stand on end. Captain Kael gripped the Ascendant artifact tightly, the crystalline monolith now safely contained within a protective field woven from the ship's energy matrix. It pulsed softly, alive with a strange power that seemed to hum in resonance with the rift itself. Behind her, Commander Kael led the rear guard, weapons blazing as waves of Riftborn shadows emerged from the crumbling walls. Twisted specters born of pure energy and malice, drawn to the artifact's awakening. Their forms flickered and distorted, shifting between tangible and ephemeral as they lunged with relentless fury. The team's response was a blur of motion. Energy blades slashing through the dark phantoms, plasma rounds scorching the twisting shapes, shields flaring under the unyielding assault. The Eclipser's comms crackled with urgency. Captain, the extraction point is compromised. Docking clamps are failing. We have less than 5 minutes before the entire structure collapses. Kael's breath was sharp, her heart pounding with a fierce determination. No one's left behind. Move. We hold this line until the last of us boards. Lieutenant Myra's voice cut through the chaos, steady despite the storm. Captain, the artifact, it's reacting. The power inside is growing. It's changing. Kael glanced down at the monolith. The blue light pulsed faster now, tendrils of energy reaching out like living fingers, casting dancing shadows across the walls. An almost hypnotic glow bathed the corridor, and the tension in the air thickened like a storm about to break. As the boarding party surged forward, the very fabric of the rift seemed to warp around them. Suddenly, a wave of raw energy exploded from the artifact, engulfing the passage in a blinding surge of light and sound. The shadows screamed in fury, their forms unraveling and retreating as the energy wave cascaded outward, cleansing and terrifying all at once. Kael felt the power ripple through her veins, a strange warmth and clarity flooding her senses. The artifact's energy was no longer just a force. They could feel it as a presence, ancient and aware, responding to their will and need. But with that power came a terrible weight, a whisper in the back of their minds, a warning not to be ignored. The ship's docking clamps finally gave way, the Eclipser's airlocks swinging open as the boarding party dove into the narrow ramp. Behind them, the Citadel groaned and exploded in a cascade of crystalline light, fragments scattering like stars in a cosmic tempest. The ramp sealed shut, and the Eclipser lurched violently, pulling away from the collapsing Citadel with every ounce of thrust. Inside the ship, the crew exhaled a collective breath, but the silence was uneasy. The artifact lay inert once more, its light dim but still palpable, a sleeping giant waiting to be stirred. Captain Kael met Myra's eyes. This changes everything. We've crossed a threshold we can't take back. Myra nodded slowly. The power we've unleashed, it's unlike anything we've faced before. If we don't understand it soon, it could consume us all. Outside the viewport, the rift churned with restless fury, as if sensing the shift in balance. Somewhere deep within the storm, a presence stirred, watching, waiting for the moment to strike. A soft chime alerted Kael to an incoming encrypted transmission. Her heart skipped. The sender ID was unfamiliar, but the message was chilling. The Ascendant legacy is awakened. The reckoning begins. Beware the shadows that now walk among you. The message ended abruptly, leaving only silence and the distant roar of the rift's endless storm. Kael's grip tightened on the armrest, her voice barely a whisper. We've only just begun to pay the price. The tension inside the Eclipsera was suffocating. Every corridor, every corner, every flickering light seemed charged with an unseen threat. The boarding party, now reunited and battered, gathered near the artifact containment chamber, weary and exhausted but alive. Captain Kael paced slowly, the hum of the monolith filling the room like a low heartbeat. Her mind raced with questions no one had answers to yet. What was this power truly capable of? How much of the Ascendants' ancient legacy did it hold? And how would it shape the war to come? Lieutenant Mira stood beside her, still pale from the surge of energy they'd just survived. I ran the preliminary scans. The artifact is a nexus, an anchor point for a vast energy network spanning the rift. It can manipulate space, time, and reality itself. But it's unstable. Using it risks fracturing the very fabric of existence. Commander Kalen's voice cut through the heavy silence. Then it's a weapon and a curse. From the shadows of the hallway, Sergeant Jalen stepped forward, wiping sweat and grime from his brow. If Morith gets this, it's game over for everyone. But if we use it, we could turn the tide. Maybe even end the war. Calitha's gaze hardened. That's exactly why we have to be careful. Power like this doesn't come without a price. Suddenly, the ship's systems flickered, a subtle pulse that rippled through the Eclipsera's core. The artifact responded instantly, its glow intensifying, sending waves of shimmering light dancing across the walls. The crew instinctively took a step back as the monolith seemed to awaken again, tendrils of energy reaching out in serpentine arcs. Kael felt a strange warmth spread through her, a voice echoing inside her mind, soft, seductive, promising salvation and doom in the same breath. Her vision blurred, and for a moment, she saw herself standing among the stars, commanding a fleet that reshaped the galaxy. But beneath that grandeur, shadows lurked, an ancient darkness growing, waiting to consume all light. She shook her head, grounding herself. The artifact was testing them, probing for weaknesses, tempting them with visions of power. Mira quickly stepped forward, running her hands over a console to stabilize the containment field. It's reacting to our emotions. We have to keep control, or it could tear us apart. The room's lights flickered again as the ship groaned, buffeted by the rift's turbulent storm. Outside, the swirling chaos pressed against the Eclipsera like a living thing, hungry for the artifact's power. An urgent alert flashed across the command center. "Captain, incoming transmission. Unknown origin." Kael nodded, motioning to open the channel. The screen flickered, revealing a face shrouded in shadows, but unmistakably human. A figure she recognized from distant battles and forgotten alliances. "Captain Kael." The figure's voice was grave. "We've been monitoring your progress. That artifact, it's more dangerous than you realize. The Ascendants' legacy is awakening old powers, forces that could unravel the galaxy itself." Calitha's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" The figure's smile was cold. "A friend. For now. But time is short. Prepare yourselves. The reckoning is coming." The transmission cut out, leaving the crew staring into the void. Outside the viewport, the rift's storm intensified, flares of light stabbing through the darkness like celestial lightning. The galaxy held its breath, teetering on the edge of cataclysm. Kael turned to her crew, voice steady but heavy. "This war isn't over. It's only just begun. And the choices we make now will echo through eternity." As the Eclipsera powered away from the dying citadel, the artifact's light pulsed once more. A silent heartbeat amid the endless dark. But deep within the rift, unseen eyes watched, waiting for the moment to strike. To be continued. Subscribe for the part in the series.